exhibit social behavior. So what does social behavior mean? Social behavior refers to the interactions among different animals of the same species, right? So animals of the same species, they often have to work together, right? It's beneficial for an animal to often work together and live with others so that the creatures can divide up the work, or they can, protect each other when they're in large numbers, or warn each other that danger is arriving. So many animals, they live in groups, right? Some animals like tigers, for example, might not live in groups, but other creatures like lions, for example, they live in groups called a pride, right? When geese live together, right, that is called a gaggle, right? And so these groups, they can coordinate hunting, right? So lions, they often attack prey by going all together against the zebras or the wildebeest or the Cape buffalo or whatever it is. They have strategies as to how to approach the creatures from different angles, and that way they can work together to make a kill so that everybody gets food. Now there are some disadvantages to social behavior as well, and that is that when all the creatures live together, they can also spread disease, right? Like for example, we talked about the coronavirus, and people talk about social distancing and this kind of thing. So when a lot of creatures, they live together, well, if one creature catches a virus or a bacterial disease, it could easily spread to the others as well. This creature here is called a meerkat. All right, so some of you guys may have seen this creature before. So this creature, all right, communicates with each other through different kinds of calls. So for example, when danger approaches, one creature will call out to everybody else, and so everybody knows that a lion is approaching, or some kind of creature, animal is approaching. So everybody helps each other to stay away from danger. Animals communicate with each other through many different ways. So for example, human beings, right, we communicate with each other through language, right, among other things, right? But people are able to speak with complex languages. Now, most animals, they also communicate with each other, but it's usually not as complex as human language. But they do make sounds. Birds have all kinds of sounds that signals to other birds different kinds of things. Certain sounds tell other birds, hey, danger's approaching. Other sounds indicate to other birds, hey, this is my territory, stay away. Right? So sound is one way that animals can communicate with each other. So it says here that elephants, for example, they make sounds that are too low for human beings to hear. So we cannot hear all sounds. Elephants can make sounds that we cannot hear, right? Other animals communicate with each other by dancing around, or performing some kind of a dance or some kind of a movement. So many male birds perform colorful dance displays to catch a female bird's eye. And bees, they signal to other bees, hey, where are you going to go to find food, through different kinds of movements. Okay. Animals can also communicate with other animals with chemicals that are called pheromones. Right. So if you look at this right over here, this tells you how to pronounce it. Pheromones. Right. So these are chemicals that are released into the air, and other creatures can sort of sense these chemicals. And so it's giving it different kinds of examples. For example, ants, they leave pheromone paths to help other ants to find food. So wherever an ant travels, it leaves behind, in a kind of a trail, these chemicals called pheromones, and other ants that come by afterwards, even if they can't see that other ant, they can kind of sense the pheromone, and they can know, hey, the food must be this way. Animals, they often have what's called a pecking order in their groups. So the animals are not always all equal to each other. Some animals are dominant. They, are at the top of the food. They are at the top of the social hierarchy. So, for example, they're in a lion pride. The male lions will be kind of the leaders, and then underneath there will be different levels. And those at the top, they get the most amount of food. They're able to eat first, that kind of thing. So, for example, wolves also have a social hierarchy, right? So wolves also have a social hierarchy. And so the dominant male and female, right? The top male and female wolves, those are called the alpha pair. And so all the others will follow this alpha pair, and the alpha pair is responsible for deciding, hey, we're going to hunt now, we're going to rest now. And so if they do not do a good job, then they could be in trouble. Others might try to take over. Now, some other creatures, right? Some other creatures, we talked about the wolves, they often fight with each other to determine who's going to be at the top of the pack, right? So when a wolf is born, it could end up anywhere. It could end up at the top, it could end up at the bottom. But for other creatures, they live within a set structure. The moment they are born, their place in the hierarchy is already set and it cannot change. So for example, for bees, there's the queen bee at the very top, and all the other bees take care of it, right? And so, when a bee is born, it basically is, it basically cannot really change where it is in the social hierarchy.